Hello everyone. It has been a long while, at least for me, maybe for you guys. I don't remember when my last video was out. Need a haircut because my hair is getting disgusting. But never mind that. Welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now redubbed by Disney or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. So the reason it's been so long since the last video, I mean, it probably hasn't been too long, but I've had work. So reading has not been as easy as it was before, where I could just keep going and going and going every single day. So I've had a lot less time. But I finally finished the first book in the 9-book epic, Legacy of the Force, Jason's Fall. Book 1, Betrayal, by Aaron Alston of the Wraith Squadron fame, who will be a big boy for the rest of the big arcs, along with Karen Traviss for this one, and Troy Denning. The next book's by Karen Traviss, who will be the first official novel I've read of hers, but for now we have Aaron Alston. This book can pretty much be digested in 3 different parts, all of which are equally interesting and amazing. And I have to disagree with anyone who says that this, at least from this first book alone, says this series is bad. It ruins previous things. I don't agree. This book was fantastic. I'd argue this is better than the Thrawn trilogy, better than the Thrawn duology, better than a good portion of the Yusong Vong books. I mean, there were some real bangers in there, but some of them were more hit and miss. This was better than all of that. I gave this a 5 out of 5 on Amazon, which I never do usually for these books. But I did for this and Trader. This book was phenomenal. There was not a single portion of this book that I found kind of boring. It was all thoroughly engaging. When does this book begin? Well, let me tell you. It has been, just need to check the note, 5 years since the Dark Nest trilogy. Which, by the way, might I add, I think the Dark Nest trilogy is essential. For the simple fact that I think the reason people might complain about Jason's character development, which, by the way, is freaking phenomenal, might I add. If you went from the New Jedi Order series straight into this, you might think that. But then again, there's a couple years in between. I mean, you wouldn't think about young little Annie from episode 1 of Star Wars killing a bunch of Tusken Raiders, now would you? But many years had passed, and his mother died. So it was possible in episode 2 for him to do so. But yes, young Annie would not have done that. But if you read the Dark Nest trilogy, you see Jason's nowhere near being evil or bad or anything like that. But you do see him being more willing to do things that other people aren't. There are stuff he echoes in that trilogy that is directly repeated to him here, or similar things. Stuff he may want to hear. Stuff about, it's not evil. There's no evil or light. It's all about the intent. Darth Vader had greed. I don't have greed. He didn't use the dark side a lot, but he was already kind of justifying it. Anyway, I think what we see of Jason in that Dark Nest trilogy makes it so you won't, to where the stuff going on in this book just feels like a natural progression. True, I think maybe if I had gone from Unifying Force to this, maybe I would feel that way. But having read the Dark Nest trilogy first, I don't feel that way. Maybe these other books will show me the error of my ways and why it's so bad and so not good as some people seem to say. I don't know. I thought this book was compelling and phenomenal. So, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in this book. As I said, it has been 5 years since the events of the Dark Nest trilogy. And Corellia wants to become independent. yet they still want the benefits of the Galactic Alliance. They have found a way to rearm Centerpoint Station. The Jedi aren't too happy with that. I won't say any more because you need to read the book. But that's the first 100 something pages feels like a book in of itself, and that's only the first part of this book. That's how great it is. That this huge conflict that goes on is only a portion of this book. And guess who also returns? A super good villain. Thrackan Solo, the cousin of Han Solo, who, again, justifies the fact that you should read the Corellian trilogy. Is it super imperative to this novel? Do you need it to understand it? No. But again, he showed up in New Jedi Order. You'd be like, okay, that guy, whatever. But if you've read everything in chronological order, if you've read the Corellian trilogy, then this has a lot more weight. This same guy has been a jerk forever. And he's still kicking around. But also, I think Thrackan Solo is a phenomenal villain. He's definitely, he's no Vader or anything, but he's not supposed to be. He's a sniving, conniving, racist bastard. And he gets his, huge time to shine in his trilogy, and then after that, he's just kind of a side character. But he's in here. And he's going to be in other books, I'm sure. And he's a good villain. Love reading about him. He's a terrible person, and he sucks. But he's fun to read. Second part becomes more of a murder mystery, as our main heroes get attacked. And now it's time to figure out what that's all about. And Jason goes on a quest. There is a huge amount of turmoil within the Galactic Alliance and Corellia, because Han is Corellian. Wedge Antilles is Corellian. So as with the Yusong Vong War, or the Killik War, where it was the Chiss versus, the Killiks. The Chiss, who are super standoffish and kind of keep themselves mostly, and these bug-like aliens that don't really resemble normal people. So you can kind of distance yourself from that. Besides, Jaina and Zek, who were a part of the hive mind or whatever. Not hive mind, but or one of the joiners. You have the Yusong Vong War, where it was very clearly, here's the enemy. Everyone else, allies, or at least should be. Besides the Peace Brigade and all that. But mostly, it was the entire galaxy versus the Vong. Even the original trilogy, it was the Empire, even though there was good on that side too. The EU tries to make it more, nuanced. But it was still, if you only watch the movies, Empire bad, Rebels good. The prequels were kind of more complex, but it was Republic good, even though Palpatine's working the strings along, so they're basically working for bad, they just don't know it. The Federation, which, what is that called? Something like that. But they're the bad guys, and we never really get to see too much nuance with them, but still, they're being manipulated. So it's all a chess game by Palpatine. But here we have friends and family that are now shooting upon another. This is a really personal conflict. I just think it's really interesting. I'm not going to spoil too much, I'll get to it in spoilers, but there's a part where you have Wedge Antilles hugging a good friend that everyone that has read Rogue Squadron will know and love. And it's only after they get finished hugging and, catching up do they realize, hey, we're wearing opposite uniforms. We're not on the same side. It's just good storytelling, man. The politics in this, and if you've been watching my stuff, I love the political stuff in sci-fi. I loved it in Mass Effect. I loved it in Babylon 5. I loved it in Deep Space Nine. I loved it in so many of these very novels here, like with the Thrawn trilogy, the Black Fleet Crisis, and a whole bunch of that political sort of talk. I loved it. Loved it. Soak it up. Just eat it. Loved it. And then we get to the last part. which is more of the stuff in the middle and the beginning, but with the added addition of one of the biggest, I feel, and I haven't even read it yet, EU connections in the history of connections. Little hint, the Marvel comics from the, the 70s or the 80s or whatever, something like that. The old Marvel comics of Star Wars. A very big important character from that series is a crucial part, has to play in this book. We'll get to that in spoilers. But rest assured, that will be very important for Jason and everything else that will follow for following books. And all of it was so good and so compelling and so interesting. I loved it. It was so good. Oh my gosh. Matt Wilkins, I love you. I know you're watching this. I've already finished the new Jedi Order series. If this keeps up, if this level of quality keeps up with Legacy of the Force, for me personally, it might beat New Jedi Order. I mean, nothing will beat Traitor. That book is one of my all-time favorites. And yet that book itself has so much to play into this. Also, there's stuff I have to say about Verget. I'll leave my thoughts for that in the spoiler section. Rest assured, we learn some things, maybe, which I'll discuss in spoilers. This was a phenomenal read. I'm really excited to see where it continues. Really not excited to see where it ends with Jason. But I'm invested. Way more invested than I would be if this was a TV show or a movie. Because I've read multiple novels with these people. I saw Jason be born. And I'll probably see him die. So, 10 out of 10. Go read the first book in the Legacy of the Force series, Betrayal by Aaron Alston. That is my signature. Go watch it. I'm getting into spoilers now. If you don't want spoilers, it is time for you to get out. Because I'm going to spoil the heck out of this. Alright. So again, I said this takes place 5 years after the events of the Darkness trilogy. Ben Skywalker, who was 8 in the Darkness trilogy, is now 13. In the very beginning of the book, Ben and Jason are on a mission. And we read about how Jason says that his worrying about life is gone. You know that annoying trait that Jason Solo had in the early books of the New Jedi Order up and until the Traitor book. He worried about life. He didn't want to attack anybody. I'm not going to be a Jedi anymore. I'm going to complain and cry. That's what he did the whole time. It's gone. He even says how, he had fought with Anakin to not use Centerpoint Station in the New Jedi Order series. But now, he would have never said that to Anakin. He would have let him, encouraged him even. So that huge annoying trait is gone. For the better? Well, that's for future books to show. But it's gone now. Wiped. He can cut down men, no problem. He doesn't feel sorry about it. At least not for those he thinks deserve it. He doesn't care. Not anymore. Vong ripped that out of him. Dinner with our heroes. The reason I made that our thumbnail for this video. I was going to use a different one, but I found that. I just thought this series is going to go downhill. People are going to be depressed, sadness is going to happen. I thought, here is the last remaining nice moment where we have all of our family together at a nice dinner. Of course, it's not completely nice. There's arguing. Han's upset with Luke because of everything going on with Corellia. Politics being discussed at the dinner table. Some of you might be having that this Thanksgiving, unless you're completely left, and then you stay in a bubble and you don't hang out with anyone, I guess, which, that's your choice to make. Don't want to get political here, but, I never plan on doing anything big for Thanksgiving, but, we have, just a nice little moment. There's some, generally, nice moments talked about and jokes, but then you have Han getting upset and stuff, and showing the overall, turmoil of this book. But it was a nice moment. That's why I wanted to capture it on the thumbnail. And Han, too, wants Corellia independent. Han, very much like my father in real life, is not very political. Although, of course, everyone's political, even though they say they're not. Everyone is. Everyone has their opinions. They just may be not as outspoken about it, and maybe not as passionate about it as other people. But everybody has opinions. My dad says, I just don't talk about it. I don't think it's worth arguing over. I don't want to discuss it with anyone. It's just fine. He thinks that both parties are stupid and all that. And that's usually, that's the vibe I always got from Han, He just doesn't, the politics stuff is just, he's a simple guy. He's good at fighting and doing that. And same with my dad. He's a simple guy. He doesn't, really think about big stuff like that. But he is kind of prideful of his place. He's a nationalist of his home. He still loves Corellia. Because being a nationalist, being proud of where you live, maybe I'm using the wrong word here. I don't think I am. But if I am, not what I meant. I just mean that someone being proud of their country is not inherently a bad thing. If you're overzealous, that's something else. But being proud of where you live is not necessarily a bad thing. So that's what Han is. And that's why there's a lot of turmoil between him and Luke in this novel. Of course, he still loves Luke. He'll never hate Luke. But he is annoyed with how the Jedi just decide to side always with the Galactic Alliance. I found this quite telling. Jason no longer mourns his old beliefs. The annoying beliefs he had. I'm happy they're gone too. I found them so frustrating. But he no longer mourns that. But he used to really be sad and mourn over Anakin Solo, his youngest brother, youngest sibling. He doesn't mourn him anymore. It's not that he doesn't care. It's just there's other things to worry about now. It's been so long ago at this point. It's time to move forward. But he no longer mourns his brother. Politics and Wedge being awesome. I love it. Again, it's because of the expanding universe that you care so much about these characters. Wedge was just a face in the movies. The only reason anybody gives a damn about Wedge is because of those X-Wing books. It's the only reason anybody gives a damn. He was in the Thrawn trilogy, sure. He didn't do much. He did stuff, but that's not why people love him. They love him because of those X-Wing books. Because of those Wraith Squadron books. That's why people love him. And rightfully so. He's an amazing character. And he's going to count as an EU character because he basically wasn't a character in the movies. He became a character, a compelling character, because of these books. Which I know it's such a huge investment to go through everything, but my God, is it so satisfying and so more compelling and interesting if you have. It makes this stuff so much if people are just skimming through, I can see why they wouldn't enjoy this as much. But if you've been reading everything, I don't understand why you couldn't like this. Everybody's free to their own opinion, and feel free to tell me in the comments. But I loved it. I loved, the conflict. He just wants to be with his wife. He's retired, but he gets forced back into it. And he's, a citizen of Corellia, as is Han. And that scene with that... oh my gosh. Him and Tycho hugging and reuniting, and then discussing, realizing that they're not on the same side. Like, this is now a personal battle that's going on in this series, and I don't know if that will last. I know there's something about a second galactic civil war. I don't know what that necessarily entails. I'm sure Jason will be heavily involved in that, but this book is written so well. Props to you, Aaron. All right, never mind. Still props to you, even though you're gone, which is really sad, and you will be missed. And if I can help your family in any way by checking out some of your other books, I'll most certainly do so. I'm talking to him as if he'll listen to it. I know, just I now want to read his other stuff. If not only, so that I assume, family members would get some of the profit. And this book is phenomenal. And if he were still alive, he would deserve the money, very much so. But sadly, he passed away. The YVH droids, who were the big giant droids that were used against the Yusong Vong during the New Jedi Order series, are perfect weapons to use against Jedi. Somebody reprogrammed them to fight against Jaina and a lot of other Jedi. And my gosh, when they're fighting for you, you're like, oh yeah, it's like having a Terminator kick butt against the Vong, and then you realize, but if they could be programmed to fight against the Jedi, what a terrifying enemy they would be. And my gosh, were they when I read that part. That was good stuff. And then we get to a super awesome part of the book, which gives me some parallels. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Jason and Thraken. Jason has infiltrated Centerpoint Station with Ben, which, oh my gosh, Ben. Oh my gosh. We'll get to that in a bit. But it's so interesting because Jason was just, like a little kid when the events of, the Corellian trilogy happened. But the fact that he's the one going after Thraken, I really enjoyed in this first book. Of course, he doesn't succeed because we'll have Thraken in other books, but there's more to talk about with him, but I just found it really interesting, the dynamic that they had while he was trying to chase him down. But family on both sides, good and bad. Wedge's family on both sides, daughters included, good and bad, whereas, so does Jason, but one of them is a not too great family member called Thraken Sal Solo. So we'll get more to stuff with them in a bit, but Lisa is actually Sayal, who is Wedge's daughter. She changed her name because she wanted to make a name for herself, and she didn't want to, she didn't want to, get married automatically because of her name, so she legally changed it. This was rough, man. I was so surprised, and it made me sad. My note says Anakin Sal Solo. There's a robot programmed to think that it's Anakin Solo. Ben's there. Now, Ben never really knew Anakin because he died early on. But still, he knows about Anakin. That is, still a family member. So the fact that he had to deal with a robot that, seemingly had a bit of Anakin's personality must have been hard. And that the whole sequence of events, it kept switching back and forth between other scenes in that scene, but just bring it all as a whole together. That whole section was so good. I loved it. I was just, oh, man. It was so just crazy to have because it happened relatively a long time ago into the war with the Vong. And to bring it back, now, they accomplished their mission because Ben being there. I honestly don't know. I know Jason said he didn't mourn Anakin anymore because he had, he just wants to move forward. But if he was confronted with that, I do think that would have rattled him. I don't know if he would have been able to finish it in time. So, and because the whole point was for Jason to get to it. But Ben got to it instead. So, oh my goodness, Jason blocking blaster shots like Vader. Also, lightsaber to neck. He finally catches up to Thraken and has his lightsaber to his neck. And he contemplated killing him. And finally decided on, I should kill him. This is what's best for the galaxy. And it made me think about Count Dooku and Anakin. Only difference is, Jason wasn't that conflicted. He kind of came to a decision pretty quickly. And the only reason he didn't is because Thraken found a way to escape. But he was fully intending and fully willing Jason was to kill him. He just didn't get the opportunity. But I thought that scene was awesome, with just imagining Jason doing that. And then Thraken's like, can all the Jedi do that? And Jason's just like, no. So, and then there's a big attack on, Ben and Jason, and I think Jaina was there, I might be wrong, and Mara and Luke, just, the family, Leia and Han, I think, at least Leia was there, Han was there too, and they were getting attacked. But after that, Jaina finds a cloth, and Jason's like, hey, because Luke's like, here's where you're all going to go to do this and this and this and this, to figure out what's going on. And Jason's like, when he picks up the cloth, it just, something speaks to him. And so he's like, Jaina, I need you to do me solid. Can you just go take the mission I was supposed to take? I'll go here. She's like, why? Because I feel it in the Force, I need to go. And so he does. I do really like Ben so far. So Jason and Ben go to this place where they meet up with another Jedi who's, just stationed there, I think, to figure out more about the cloth. Now, if you remember, the place where we started getting characterization for Ben was the Darkness trilogy. And I don't feel like we got that much. We got a little bit, and it was good to learn. But this is really this is where he's becoming kind of a main, figure, and we're learning more about him and his personality, and I do like it. It's different from Anakin, Jason, or Jaina. It's unique. He still very clearly is, similar to them, but he's different in many ways, and I appreciate that, and I'm excited to see what happens to him, because I'm pretty sure he makes it past this and goes on to, the Fate of the Jedi, where he'll be a lot older and stuff, and I'm just interested to see that dynamic and what his future holds and what big events he'll play into the Star Wars universe. So I also like that he, tried to impersonate Lando and was hitting on a girl that he found attractive, and he's like, I'm trying to figure out if I should be suave or debonair or something like that. I thought that was a really fun moment. Jason, what's her name? Nalani and Ben go on this, they go on several missions for the place that they're at. One of them's a bomber, with a hostage. And long story short, Jason tries to see all possible futures and realizes the only way this ends is if the bomber dies and the hostage dies. He says it's that, or many more people die. Because the bomber made it so that there was no way for him to win. It's one of those Kobayashi Maru scenarios we're talking about Star Trek. There's literally, maybe there was, but from everything presented, it didn't seem as if there was anything he could possibly do. So he ends the bomber's life and ends the hostage's life. But he says it's better to have just those two die than have many, many, many more die. Again, he's not even a Sith Lord yet. And he was already talking like this in the Darkness trilogy, so it's not a far stretch. It's not as if he went from no kill, right? Like, he's been talking like this in Darkness trilogy, which happened 5 years prior. I don't understand people's complaint about it not making sense with, but we'll get to that even more soon. Force or your gut. You know, everybody gets, you know, kind of startled that he was willing to do that. And he says, does the Force tell you it's wrong? Does the Force say I did wrong and evil? And Nalani's like, it doesn't say anything. I just feel in my gut that it's wrong. He says, well, the Force didn't tell you it was wrong. So I don't have to feel sorry. I love it. Love Jacen. Jacen is probably one of my favorites. I hear a lot of people say they love Jaina. Maybe I will after this series. But so far she's been cool. She's not my favorite as of yet. Jacen definitely has been so far. We learn about Brisha, who we will later find out is Luminia, which, oh my gosh. So the fact that Luminia is in this series, I don't know if you understand how big of significant this is. Now, maybe you're reading the novels, but you don't read the comics. So let me explain to you. I haven't even read these comics yet. I will in the future, but let me explain to you why this is such a big deal. So in the old Marvel Comics run, I believe this happened after episode 6, maybe not. This might have happened before episode 6 happened. In between, I'm not sure exactly when it happened. I'd have to go watch Matt Wilkins' videos again to kind of remember. But she was a villain that popped up. She used a whip that was like a lightsaber, but it was a whip. And she was a villain that Luke defeated in that series. And you think, I'm never going to see her again. Here she is. Yet again. That is such a big connection and makes all of the... Because before, you know, a lot of people are iffy on the Marvel Comics. Like, some of them are really silly. Can we really count this as canon? And there's a way that people have kind of fixed a lot of issues within it. But this solidifies that those Marvel Comics count. That they're a part of the ever-expanding universe because of this. I mean, I don't really think anything else has been mentioned from the Marvel Comics. But this is just grabbing a character from that, shoving it into a novel, and having it work. And so I kind of knew the moment she showed up that it was her. I mean, I knew she was in this series. That was one of the things that was spoiled for me. But I was excited. I was interested to see how that would come about. And I thought it was really well done. The reveal that it was her. Even though I kind of figured by the time I saw her. But that was because of knowledge beforehand. If you hadn't known that she was going to be in this series and then you learned that, you'd be like... It would have been the equivalent to when I read the Young Jedi Knight series and I learned about the daughter of Galandro from the Han Solo Brian Daly trilogy. My brain. That would have been me had I not known that she was in this series. So that was a really cool reveal. Brisha or Luminia, whatever you want to say, tells Jacen stuff similar to Verge. Everything I say is a lie. I think that really rattles Jacen, even if he doesn't show it. He respected the hell out of Verge. Maybe even more than Luke. Maybe that's Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know. But he spent a year with her, being tortured for a good portion of it, and then the rest of the events of Traitor, which I've already talked about. But there was a weird attachment to her. And then she sacrificed herself for him. And now this lady is saying similar things as her. So here's the big one, the big thing I wanted to discuss. My God, we're 34 minutes in. Here's the big thing I wanted to discuss. My thoughts on Verge being a Sith. This pissed off so many people, apparently. This ruins Traitor. This ruins everything. This ruins Verge's character. It's such a contradiction. It makes everything we read about in Traitor and Destiny's Way be an utter lie. What a garbage book. Garbage. This is utter crap. And yet some of these people probably watch the sequel trilogy. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to stay positive. I don't want to be a jerk. But come on. There's no way. I do not see the problem. And let me explain why. First off, I do not believe that Luminia is being 100% truthful. I do believe she is actively lying, just as Palpatine did to Anakin to convince him to join. Plagueis was trying to find a way to live forever. He didn't. He died. And Palpatine was never going to make Anakin clones. Like in Dark Empire when Palpatine returned. He was never going to do that for Anakin. Never. He had no way of actually saving Padme. It was a lie to seduce him. So I do believe Luminia is telling truths among lies, as Sith always do. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe future books will prove me wrong, and then you'll be right. I don't know. But as for this book alone, and maybe this will age with time if I end up being super duper wrong. Here's the thing. I do believe that Verge tried to be an apprentice to Palpatine. Now, the rule is you can only have 2 Sith, right? So he could have many candidates, but he can only have 1 apprentice. And Count Dooku is one of those apprentices, and then Verge tried to learn from him. But here's the interesting thing, and here's where I do believe Luminia is correct. She saw what a power-hungry, evil bastard Palpatine was, and Verge was like, no, I gotta stop this. And she failed. So she took the next mission she could to Zamana Zakat, to the Rogue Planet novel. And then she left with the Yusong Vong, as she said herself in Destiny's Way. But she spent so many years with the Vong. I do not think she stayed true to the Sith way. I think she kept some of those beliefs. But I think she felt, after being with the Yusong Vong for that long, that both the Sith and the Light were wrong. That there was something in the middle. I do believe her philosophy still holds. I do believe that maybe she still was a Sith, but she was a very different Sith. I don't know. Maybe the books will explain it more, but I do not believe that her entire purpose in talking to Jason in Traitor was to make him a Sith. I don't believe that. Maybe the other books will prove me wrong, but I think that is something Luminia is only saying to get to Jason. I think she knows how much that Verge's opinion, how much her tutorship meant to him. So if she can convince Jason that that's what Verge wanted for him, he's going to be more willing to come to her side. He respected the hell out of Verge. Far more than he respected, I think, anyone else. I think Verge was a complicated person. I think she started out a Jedi, wanted to learn more, tried to join Palpatine, saw the evil of Palpatine, ran away from Palpatine. So now she's like the extreme of Palpatine. That's bad. The complacency and the pride of my Jedi Order, also bad. Their ignorance and only willing to see the light and refuse to see anything else was their downfall. She saw that. So what does she do? She's got nothing now. She goes with Yusong Vong for however many years, sees that they don't have the Force. And so, again, her mind must have been flipping, because here you go, now her entire philosophies, both of them clashing, both of them not working, and then here you have the Vong who aren't even in the Force. Which was a huge thing to every Jedi. If you remember the New Jedi Order series, like, how can something not be in the Force? I don't understand. Right? So I don't think this ruins Traitor. I think she really did want him to see something gray. Whether she was still a Sith or not, I don't know. Maybe she was. Maybe she still, more was aligned with that than the Jedi. I don't know. Maybe the other books will tell me, maybe they won't. But what I do know, what I believe, is that everything she, told Jason in there, she truly believed. that there was no light or dark, that it was only your intent. Which is exactly what Luminiah says to Jason, because that's what he wants to hear. That's what I think. But anyway, I just wanted to rant. I don't think it's a contradiction. I don't think it's a problem. And I love this book, and I can't wait to read the next one. And to all those who don't like it, well, I'm sorry you don't get to enjoy it, because it's good. Anyway, I'm almost done here. I have 40 minutes. This is the longest review I've ever done. But Luminiah does get through to Jason. He sees all possible futures. He sees himself murdering Luke. He does not want that to happen. And the center point, the shatter point, maybe, if you'd call it that. Maybe that will actually be confirmed, I don't know. Maybe that's the power he's using, I don't know. But, because I haven't read those prequel novels with Mace Windu, but I know a little bit, I've heard it talked about. But he knows that, or he thinks that if he kills her, if he kills Lonnie, he won't kill Luke. So he strikes her down. Not happily. He's very regretful. He's very upset about doing it. Sacrifice through pain. Jason knows pain very well, thanks to Traitor. And accepts it, embraces it. Because it needed to be done. Or so he's led to believe. Last thing Jason does is, yet again, like he did in the Darkness trilogy, wipe Ben's memory so he can't remember exactly what happened. Which is such a powerful power, by the way. And the book ends with Jason and Ben coming home. What's going to happen from here? I have no idea. But I'm excited to find out. This is the longest review I've ever done. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I don't know if it beats Darth Bane or Darth Plagueis, but it was good. I still think I prefer Traitor over this, but it would be right behind Traitor at the very least. And as for where Traitor ranks amongst my favorites of all time, I don't know yet. I'll probably do that once I've gone through all of the EU. But it is a highly placed book. I loved it. I love the politics with Thraken and Corellia and the Galactic Alliance. I loved learning about Wedge's daughter. I loved hearing more about Wedge. I loved everything going on with Jason. I loved it. And I'm so excited for the rest of the series. And dreadful for what we will be witnessing amongst everything. But I hope you enjoyed this review. I know it was a long one, much longer than all my other ones. And I hope you... I hope those who actually sat through all of it enjoyed my rantings. And I appreciate the views. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. If you disagree 110%, let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear your opinions, and, you know, I may disagree with you, but everybody needs to think as I do. I happen to love this book, but some people just didn't like it. That's fine. I did, though. And I don't think it ruins anything that Verge said in the past. Anyway, so let me know what you thought in the comment section below. And if you thought positive, let me know what you thought as well. Yeah. I don't know when next I'll see you because of work and everything, but rest assured, when I'm finished with Bloodlines, we will be talking about that together as well. By Karen Travis. Until then, guys, I'll see you next time. May the Force, as the nerd will do, be with you. Bye-bye.